I'm 2 months. See, how's your 2 months old today? Hello YouTube and welcome back to our channel. I'm kind of late. I know I said every week, but I have a good explanation, I promise. So, within this week, I'm actually on maternity leave right now, and I'm in Louisiana. So, this week has been kind of crazy because I bought a new sofa set and, had to basically drive that down from Louisiana to Virginia, and then we came right back because I'm still on maternity leave, so had to come back. And yeah, and then in between that, Nay got a little sick. She has she had got congested really bad, so had to take her to the doctor and tend to her, and all in all, now I'm finally getting to the video. So not really. I could have recorded on my way to Virginia, but Nate wasn't really in the car, so it was kind of like, how I'm gonna do a YouTube page with us and she's not there. So now this week, since I didn't record, and I kind of figured this would be like a really good first video anyway, so it's like you can start way from the beginning with us and get the full story. So today is gonna be my birthing story and how it went. So, basically my due date was August 15th, okay? So, remember that. It's a key point in this story. So, okay. So, my mom came up for the whole last month, which was the whole month of August. My mom was there, and also July, she was there. So, August came, and it was August 14th. We went to August 14th, August 13th. One of them. But whatever that Sunday was, we went to church. And I was letting my mama know, like, hey, Mom, I'm getting contractions, which was nothing different because I had got contractions for, the last, 2 weeks of me being pregnant. And, sorry, hold on, mommy mode, baby choking. Okay, sorry guys, had to go check on that. I also forgot to mention that Nay has acid reflux. So she pukes a lot. So yeah, I'm trying to make sure that she doesn't choke in between making this video. So what was I saying? Okay, back to my story. Okay, so we went to church. I was letting my mom know, like, hey, Mom, I'm having contractions. They're getting stronger. And she was like, start timing them. So I started timing them, and then they were coming closer and closer to the point where they got 5 minutes apart. So my mom was like, after church, she was like, do you want to leave church and just go to the hospital? And I was like, no, I don't want to leave church. If it gets too bad, then we'll leave. But right now, they're not too bad. They just come in quicker. So then after church, we ended up going to the hospital. And they checked me, made sure, to see how much I was dilated. And I think they told me I was only dilated 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters. So, they were like, you're fine, go back home. Water hasn't broken. Go home. So I went home, and the next day, which I believe was, I want to say that was actually the 13th, and the 14th, we went back. I went to the hospital again because I was like, my mom made me walk. So we went to the stores, and I was like, Mom, I'm having contractions. To the point where we'll be walking, I'd be like, hold up, I got to take a stop. Let me stop for a second. Let me just breathe. So we went to the hospital. They checked me again. And they was like, well, you're only 2 centimeters dilated. Still go home. Nothing's wrong. So this was by the time we got to the hospital, it was 6 o'clock, right? 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So the next morning, I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5:30. All right. So 6 o'clock in the morning, I was laying in bed, relaxing, and I heard something like pop. Like, you know how when you move a certain way and you hear like a bone pop and it's like that's what I heard, right? But it was like down in that area. So I'm kind of like, okay, like, I wasn't moving. So I'm like, I don't know what that was. So, okay, whatever. So I get up and I walk out my room. Soon as I have steps inside of my house. So as soon as I hit the first step, I felt like a little trickle because I was going to go use the bathroom. So I felt like a little trickle. And I was like, I know I didn't pee on myself. Was that pee? Like, I was trying to contemplate, like, did I pee on myself? Because I was not going to believe it. I was going to be in denial. So, I was like, did I pee on myself? Like, what in the world? So I took another step. And as soon as I took another step, it was like a whole bunch of water. And I was like, oh no, like, this isn't pee. This isn't pee. Okay, this is not a drill. So, and what's crazy is every morning, every time I move, my mom would be like, are you all right? Are you okay? This one time she decided that she wanted to go walk her dog. And she usually walks him like, up the street and come back. She walked like all the way up the corner this time. And so like, I'm going down, I finally go downstairs and I'm like opening the door and I'm like, mama, like, looking out. She didn't know where to be found. So I'm like, oh no. So I'm like standing in like a puddle of water. So I'll run to the bathroom. And, I sit on the toilet, like, try to stuff a towel between my legs to, like, try to stop it. Because now I got to go back to the door and try to find my mama. So, thank God, when I got to the door, my mom was actually walking back up with the dog. So, I was like, Mom. She was like, what? Like, literally, that was her face. Like, when I told her, I was like, Mom. She was like, what? What's wrong? I was like, Mom, my water broke. She was like, what happened? I was like, my water broke. So, all of a sudden, everything just, like, went fast speed. My mom was like, you go get in the car. Okay, you go get in the car. Don't do nothing. Just go get in the car, and I'm gonna get everything. So I had gotten in the car, and literally, like, y'all, by the time I got in the car, my mom had went upstairs, changed clothes, put the dog in this kennel, and was already like, by the time I closed the door, she was getting in the car with me. I don't know how she managed to do it, I don't know, but she definitely was like zooming. So we go on the way there, right? I was like so scared for my life because my mama was driving like 100 miles per hour, like running red lights. She was doing everything. So we ended up seeing a cop. What's crazy is the cop wasn't even from our district, but we flagged him down and mom was like, hey, like, she's going in labor. Like, we need to get her to the hospital. So he escorted us to the base because I am in the military. So he escorted us to the base. And then once we got on base, my mom was able to get us to the hospital. So, as soon as I got to the hospital, my aunt, and not to mention I wasn't in pain or nothing. Like, it was just my water had broken. And I was like, I was still fine. No contractions. Yeah, contractions had actually stopped, which is crazy. Whenever the contractions were supposed to be coming, they weren't there. So, I wasn't having contractions or nothing. But we get to the hospital, and I'm like, my mom pulled up to the front door. And she's like going inside to get somebody. But as I get out my car because in my mind, I was worried, I'm worried about like, oh, my water broke. But in my head, I'm like, I don't want to get my seats wet. So I need to get out this car before amniotic fluids just go everywhere. And I don't want it in my car everywhere. So like, I get out the car and I'm like standing because I was sitting on the towel. So like, I get out the car and it still got on my seats. Which, because amniotic fluid doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. Like that, it keeps going till the baby comes out. So I get out the car and I'm like standing on the side and I'm like looking down because I had on a dress. So I'm looking like at my dress, my back of my dress soaked, the front is soaked. And I'm like looking down and all like I move like just a little bit and I hear and then I move again. And like, I was like, oh no. So I'm like looking down at the puddle of water that's just accumulating under my feet. So, then a nurse comes back out and she's like, hey, like, no, she was walking in to go to her shift. And she was like, do you need help? And I was like, yeah, my water broke. I should probably go get a room, I don't think I should stand here. So she was like, okay, like she went in, got somebody, they came out with a wheelchair. They sat me in a wheelchair and I'm like dragging, like as they pushing me in, my mom like went to go park the car. And she had like, when they wheeled me in, they brought me into like the admission center or whatever. And my mom had met up and she was like explaining the story, laughing and stuff. And so I'm like sitting there like, okay, yeah, like would be nice, if I could just like go in the checkout room and not drip all over the floor in front of everybody. So, so we finally get up to the labor and delivery part, and they put me in a checkout room, like not like a real room. They put me in a room to check and see if check my dilation and stuff, right? So I get in there and the nurse comes in. She's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Well, my water broke." And she's like, "Oh," like I stand up. She was like, "Can you get on the bed?" And so like I stand up and it was like water gushed down. I had water on. She was like, "Oh no, you need to go get her in the room." So we go and they get me in a room. And when they get there, I get changed out. They give me the like little cool ass mesh panties. Like I love those things, man. They should have gave me like a whole box of them because those things are awesome. I love them. So, yeah, they gave me that, and I'm like sitting on the doggy pad on the bed. And so like then, my mom's like, all right, I can relax now. So she like sitting down on the iPad. I'm sitting down in the room. They come in, give me all the forms to sign and stuff, I did not want an epidural. I did it. So they gave me the form, like, just in case you do change your mind in the process to get an epidural, here's the paper you have to sign. So I signed that paper. They gave me another paper, like, all these different forms you have to sign when you have a kid. So I signed all of those papers, and then, like, finally I'm sitting there relaxing. We call all of my family, like, hey, my water finally broke. And, no, this is the 15th, guys, 15th. That was like a late process. But this is the 15th on my due date. So, yeah, we sitting there and I'm like, okay, calling my family like, hey, my water broke. Oh, it's my due date. Look at that. We're having a baby on my due date. Ain't that crazy? So, then finally, like the contractions started getting a little stronger. And I remember one of my coworkers told me, like, when your contractions get stronger, make sure you move, like, breathe through it, do whatever you got to do, just don't focus on the pain. So I get out of the bed and I was walking, I sway, I was like bouncing. So then when my contractions, they would come in then at like 5 minutes apart still. So yeah, they came back like 5 minutes apart. So they were getting stronger though. So, like, I was, like, bouncing, swaying, all that. So, all of a sudden, like, the first time the nurse came in, she, like, rushed in. And me and my mom looking at her, like, what's going on? She was like, oh, we lost the baby's heartbeat. So, I was like, okay, like, all right. So, what I really think happened, y'all, the monitors on my belly, when I was moving, they would move off of her. And then they was, like, a wiggle worm anyway. So, she was, like, kicking it, and then she, like, move off, like, get off me, So, it's, like, then the monitor ended up I think like she kicked it one good time and it moved. So they lost her heartbeat. So she came running in and she like replaced it and then they left. So then that happened like 3 more times. The last time, I don't know what happened, but it was like 4 people that came in that room. They was like, okay, we need you to lay down right now and open up and stuff. So they went in and stuck it was like the catheter. It was like a catheter and they stuck it on my uterine wall and stuck one on the top of her head. And the one on the top of her head was so that they could monitor her heartbeat. And the one on my uterine wall was to monitor my contractions. And they took the one off my stomach completely off. Just so y'all know, just if y'all about to have a baby, take a shower, a hot shower. Ooh, I don't know what it is, but it helps your contractions so bad. Like, it helps it so great. Take a hot shower. So, yeah. Anyway, back to my story. So, they did that. And when they did that, I don't know if it was the fact that she put the catheter, like the prongs inside of my uterine wall or what. But, that's when the contractions started coming, like, unbearable. I was like, okay, this is it. Like, she was like, the lady, I'm like crying. My mama was like rubbing me, she was like, breathe. You don't want to put the baby in distress. But it was so painful. So, the lady was like, yeah, like you're only at 5 centimeters. So this isn't even the worst part. I was like, call that man for the epidural right now. Call him. And so, they called him in. And by the time he got there, I'm like already like ready to pull my hair out because I was like in so much pain, and the contractions weren't giving me time to breathe because they started me on Pitocin because I was dilating too slow. So the Pitocin was like kicking them. It was going, and I was like ready to pull my fucking hair out. Excuse me, my language, but I was ready to pull my hair out. So he came in and he did the epidural, and when he did the epidural, everything was kind of okay. But through my epidural, I could still feel my contractions. Like, I don't know if it was where she was positioned or what, but I could still feel a contraction on my left side, like on my left ovary. I could still feel it, just a tiny bit. Like, it didn't take it away. So, yeah. So then, you know, all through that night, he came in to do my epidurals like 3 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock. So I went all night, y'all. I did not sleep. They were telling me like, you need to sleep, Miss Walker, you know, get some rest. And I was like, I can't sleep. Like, I don't know what it was, if it was the excitement, the pain or what, but I just cannot sleep. So, my blood pressure ended up shooting up, and my mom was like, it was from the pain or whatever, but the whole pregnancy I was fine. My blood pressure just shot up out of nowhere. So, the next morning, when I finally made it to 10 centimeters. I made 10 centimeters it was like 6:30. So I literally went like on a whole 24 hours. It was like 24 hours on a diet, and then it was time to push. So when it was time to push, I actually pushed for 3 hours, y'all. 3 hours. 3 whole hours. Like, people tell me I'm not even supposed to push that long, but I was like 3 whole hours. It was terrible. It was terrible, guys. It was terrible. Like, there is no other way to explain it. And what's crazy is when I first started pushing, my epidural bag wore completely off. Like, there was no more epidural left. So I pushed for like, I want to say probably about out of that whole 3 hours, I pushed maybe like 2.5 or 2 hours without an epidural, because they told me they wanted to wait at first. They was like, Miss Walker, you know, we got to wait at least like 30 minutes to give you another one, because they was putting it in my IV. And by this time I was like crying. I was like getting ready to like fuss the nurse out, because she was like, give a 30-minute bag. And I'm like, don't give me no 30-minute bag, girl. You better shoot me up. Like, that's in my head. Like, all I wanted was like drugs. So, like, you know, she was like, we gotta wait 30 minutes. The doctor wants you wait. Da, da, da. So I'm like, okay, like in my mind, like, I don't care what you're talking about. Just give me drugs. Like, that's all I wanted was drugs. So I pushed, y'all, pushed. And Nay was like, it would literally be like, Nay would pop out and be like, peekaboo, and then go right back in. Like, oh, you thought I was coming out. This happened for 3 hours. No, like 2.5. So that last like 30 minutes, it was me arguing with my nurse, because like my epidural wore off and they told me they weren't giving me another one. And I was like, my nurse is so great, y'all. She was so great. I was like on her shoulders crying. Like, I tried to climb out the bed and she was like, no. Like, guided me back up there. So like, y'all, I gave that woman so much. I gave her so much HE double hockey sticks, y'all. I did. And, you know, she was, the last 30 minutes, she was like, try to push for me, like, just try. And I was like, I'm not pushing. Like, I'm not doing it. So I got to the point where she called, it's like maternal exhaustion, I think, or something like that. But basically, she was like, we're going to call the doctors in with the forceps. He's going to try to pull her out. Boom. If not, we're going to have to give you a C-section. So doctor came in and he explained to me the process, what he was going to do. All this while I'm not listening. I'm just like, get this baby out of me. So he's like, only words I remember out of that whole spiel was, I'm going to pull, you push at the same time. You're doing most of the work, so push. I was like, okay, cool. Like, that's all I got to do. Cool. Let's get her out. So he put the forceps in and went to pull her. And when I stopped pushing, she sucked back in. So he did it one more time and he pulled. I stopped pushing. She sucked back in. He was like, okay, we got to do a C-section. So my mom came up and she was basically like, okay, like, I'm gonna be here waiting on you, this and that. And I'm looking at her like, don't leave me. Don't let me come back there alone. So they brought me in the back. They gave me another epidural, which I should have just did anyway, like I said. So, you know, they gave me another epidural, guys, and they started everything. So they actually let my mom come back, and she didn't know at first that she can come, but they let her come back. You know, she sat down, and they strapped my hands down to the table and stuff, because you get strapped down, and they put the curtain up so you can't see anything. And my mama was right there, and she was like, Tori, I'm right there. So in this time, y'all, it's like, I don't know what it was, if it was just the pushing for 3 hours or what, but I was like exhausted. So I'm like on the table, like basically like trying to keep my eyes open for dear, like just so I can hear my daughter, you know. So I finally, like, I felt this like vacuum feeling, like it felt like somebody was like pulling my insides, like they pull your insides, and then all of a sudden everything was like, I heard like, and then wow, I was like, oh great, like she's out, yay. My mama was like, I like, everything was like, y'all, after that, everything was literally like fast forwarded in my head, because I was like coming in and out and like in and out. So my mom, after the pull feeling, I heard, oh wow, 9 pounds 14 ounces. And so my mama was like, 9 pounds 14 ounces. And I'm like, oh, like, that's why she wasn't coming out. She couldn't. She was too big. Like, she was like, Mama, I'm trying, but you not big enough, girl. So basically after that, you know, they was like, Grandma, do you want to come cut the cord? And I was like, oh yeah. Went over there, cut the cord, and next thing I remember, like, my eyes floated. Like, it literally feels like a daze, y'all. Like, my eyes floated back open. And my mom was like, Tori, look. And she, like, showing me Nate. And they was, like, this huge baby. Like, she was so big. So, my mama, like, showing me the picture of Nate. And, showing me Nate. And I'm just like, oh, great. And then I passed out, y'all. Like, I literally passed out. And the next thing I remember was, like, I think it was the pediatrician. He came in, and he was like, how's mom, or where's mom, or something like that with mom. And so, like, I opened my eyes back up, and it literally looked like, y'all, I was either, I don't know if it was high off the meds or I was just super tired. But it literally, when I looked back at him, it was like Charlie Brown when they like womp 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 womp, like, and I'm looking at him like what in the world? And then I passed out again. And next thing I know, all right, so they called out the time. Time was like 11:45. 11, yeah, she was born at 11:42. So 11:42, y'all. The next time I woke up, it was like 1:30, like 2 o'clock. And I'm like looking around like, what in the world? I open my eyes and my baby's on the scale with like this nurse, and she's like doing all this little stuff to her. So I'm like looking like, bruh, like, when did I even get in the room? How did I make it? Like, you know, I was so out of it, y'all. I didn't even know I made it to the room. Like, I was gone. Like, woke up in the room. I'm like looking around like, oh wow. And the nurse is like, oh yeah, your mom said she's gonna be back. She went home to go check on the dog. So I'm like, okay, like, all right, that's cool. Where's my daughter? Like, can I have her? So, you know, the nurse is like, are you hungry? We can get you food. I'm like, yeah, girl, man, I'm hungry. Yes, bring on the food, because I couldn't eat for a whole 24 hours. Bring me some food, girl. Like, girl, oh, yeah, I tore that food up. And it was only like chicken broth and Jell-O, but I tore it down. No, chicken broth and Jell-O was when I first got in the hospital. This one was like chicken and something, but it was pretty good. I tore it up. But, after that, you know, like, I'm going to insert some pictures of Nay, like, if I haven't already. They're going to be in here, so y'all can actually see what I'm talking about. So, like, Nay was, like, I looked over, and Nay was, like, in the side of me. And then, they actually had to come in. I had to log how much she was eating, because I was breastfeeding at the time. And I had to log, every time after she ate, I had to call a nurse, because they wanted to test and see if she had diabetes, because she came out so big. So they would have to stick her in a little foot and draw blood and do this and that. So, you know, then after that, that was pretty much it. Like, that was the end of it. It was a long time coming. I was in labor for 27 hours. 27 or 28, one of them. But I was in there from that long. So yeah, like, I'm not, and it's not to scare nobody. I just want y'all to know, like, this is just my labor and delivery story. Yours might go so much smoother, so much smoother. My baby just came out a whole baby giant. So, all right, guys, and next week next week's video, I'm not really sure what it's gonna be. It might be another like story time, and I tell y'all like, y'all just let me know what y'all want. Do y'all want a video of the story time of me, like my C-section recovery and all that stuff, or do y'all want a video of me in there? Because it's probably gonna be me in there. So, all right. So y'all have a good one, and I will see you guys next week. Bye. See, I'm 2 months. See, I just 2 months.